Out here at Conondale for KTM's 2023 motocross range launch, and God, I don't want to say blessed. That blows too much wind up your ass, mate. But great to have Mike Sleater here, because Mike spent 15 years evolving these bikes, working full time for KTM. I said previously over in North America, and it's got a really good insight into where these bikes have come from, the whole development process. And Mike, it must be kind of nice. We're here to let's just sort of talk about the 3/4 strokes, but before we do, it just must be nice to see that evolution and know where it came from, right?
Yeah, it's I got to work on the 4th generation models, 19 through 22, and moved on from KTM Group, and I was able to pass the torch, and man, they took it and ran. And I've not been able to ride these or see these or sit on any of these units as this chassis. So being able to see these bikes and see them evolve, this new 250F motor, this 450 motor, was all after my time, and knowing what that group's capable of, I was pretty confident they're going to take it and just keep doing what they do, and that's make things better.
We've talked about the range and the philosophy and the big things that's changed. So let's just focus now on the 3 models. Always great to have 3 models. I mean, it's one of the few brands in the market that's, outside the KTM group, that's got a 350 in between that 250 and 450. And I know it's your favourite bike. It's the best of both worlds bikes, and I think that would apply to a lot of people. But just take us through today the 250, 350, 450, the character, the personality of those bikes, and what struck you about each. I guess starting with the 250, which gets the same bore and stroke as I want to say Moto 3 engine, extra 3 mil of bore in the piston and 4 mil less stroke, so really over square.
Yeah,
engine.
like it's a testament to racing money spent from the MXGP side being trickled down into the SX models. I was really excited to ride this bike, and the power has been quite linear on these models over years. You don't know where to ride them, RPM, where to be. It has a lot of power. Like this 250F has a lot of power. I would have liked to change the gear and get a little longer gear. It seemed like they wanted it to wow us with that bottom and snap, which they did. But I felt myself in between 2nd and 3rd gear. I would like to go taller because it has that power, which is a compliment, but you just spread it out. The EFI is the best tune I've ever felt from a KTM Group production bike. It's just so snappy, so responsive to my hand.
Which is sort of contrary, like an over-square engine, you think it's going to have no bottom end at all rev, but that's where they've learned from the Moto 3, right?
Yeah, those Moto 3 guys are just on the limit, building power way up top. This thing has an enormous amount of torque, so I think, although they did miss the mark, in my opinion, on the gearing is a 51.
You are a self-confessed gear dork.
I am a gear dork. I count my gears. I know I like to be in tight turns on a small bore bike. I want to be in 2nd gear. I don't want to clutch it a bunch in 3rd. So that being said, in my opinion, I think they missed it a little bit. I'd like to use the power plant to get me out of turn, not the gearbox. And be in 2nd gear in tighter turns and upshift and allow that power to really shine. It shines now, but it's more of an explosive, like wow, and shift. The lighter, younger rider will really feel, which this bike is kind of either built for the younger, 15 to 21-year-old in that form. They'll like that, get through that 3rd gear, be fine, and that vet guy. So I'm like in that cross between faster than I ever, I'm living in the past and not moving forward. So. This motor's impressive. Like at the bottom line, they've done a lot of work as you go through hit the links, in the story and see the full details from that head design, gaskets, all the details within the motor, the change in the way it sits in the frame. The exhaust sounds great. I mean, that's an experience that you want. You want that bike to sound good, So they've really done a good job with that. Like I said, when it comes shootout time, it'll be in hunt. It's comparable to the Yamaha. Like I said, my only gripe is gearing. I think they could have gone on taller gearing, but the chassis works so well. It's a firmer chassis. Suspension's spot on. I mean, I left recommended air pressure in the fork. I couldn't ride the bike hard enough to really complain about the fork and shock, which is cool.
You're on it out there today, mate.
I was acting like I was 22 trying to be
well,
here.
You have to be.
Yeah.
And look, it's an important model, right? Because it's the entry, it's the gateway into the 4-stroke, lineage, right?
You took the words out of my mouth. As you have KTM is the only brand that you can start at 4 years old and come all the way through. And this is a pivotal time for it's a buyer that's quite educated. They're 15 to to 21, they're spending either mom and dad's money. It's a lot of money, and they want to have a bike that you could possibly send them the trajectory with the brand forever.
Yep.
So if the brand loses them at this model, it's hard to get them back.
Yep.
You know, so I don't think they'll be losing any riders with this model.
Right.
I'll put it that way. I mean, the thing is, will they take market share from Yamaha?
Yep.
That's really their competitor, I think, in this power plant. In this class, I think it's going to be interesting come shootout time who takes the cake, but they've delivered a product that I wouldn't bet against.
Okay. So that's 250, and there's a lot to be said about it. On paper, it's the biggest change, but 350 I know is always your favourite, but I've heard you say when we did the overview of the range, the 450 is the biggest relative beneficiary of this
new tech.
New generation. Yeah.
350. I flew that flag early on, was like, you know, pro 350, and the first production unit didn't really stack up where I thought it was because they changed the crank. You know, these all are Pankel cranks now, Pankel trannies. I mean, these things have the most premium product in the motors from 250 to 450, and we're talking 350 now, but the way why I like the 350 is, you know, if I want to rev the bike, it likes that. If I want to short shift it, it likes that. You don't have to ride it one particular way. I love that. It feels light and nimble, even though it
sounded like a 450 out there today. How
yeah,
is it?
They keep improving the motor. They didn't say, oh, we made that. We'll lift off that technology. So my personal favorite was the 350. The chassis helped that skatey feel similar to the 125. That light feel got more planted. Got better, you know, all the attributes that the other bike have with comfort. That it obviously crosses over to 350. Yeah. 350 still vibrates a little more than I'd like it to compared to the 250 and 450, but overall, you have a stronger 350, you have better handling 350. If you're a 350 guy before, you're gonna love this one even more. If you're a 450 guy that's wondering about the 350, I think you get to a demo day and you try one.
Yeah. And why is the 450 in your mind? Why did that take the biggest quantum gap? A leap from its predecessor.
Yeah, so the 450 in the fourth generation, 19 and 22, it had a bit of a lazy, you know, very workable power, but it was lazy. It built power in a very, you know, slow way.
Good for clubmen.
Good for club guys, but it didn't have a wow factor to me. And I thought, man, I wanted to fix that. You know, without buying a different ECU or getting yours mapped. It's quite hard. The chassis would kind of twitch. The forks, it was heavy on the fork. That came from the ECU and the mapping. So these little nuances that I just, you know, when I ride my personal 450, I was like, man, I wish I know what I want to fix, but I don't want to spend that extra money. 23, and then vibration. There was a lot of vibration, harmonic vibration. Slap downs were harsh. And I feel like I'm tearing that bike apart. It won a lot of shootouts and did good, but like I said, I had so much time on it, I know what I wanted to fix, and there's only so much you can do in a model year. And
they have fixed it.
And they have fixed it, and they made a chassis better. It's more stable. The fork allows the forks to work on and support the chassis. They've got a lot freer ECU setting within the motor. The motor's in a better position, so the front wheel is not as weighted. I mean, the list goes on and on of what they did to improve that bike. Really, the mapping's a bigger differentiation. You know, on the KTM's the map switch comes standard, and before, you know, your 1 and 2 or your white and green, which is now we're pretty close. Like you're like splitting hairs. Where now it's a pretty big jump. So if you want that Clubman smooth roll on, you go white. If you want that very lively feel that I'm looking for, you go green.
And and you get the best of both worlds.
You get the best of both worlds.
And there's a much bigger differential between 1 and 2, or now what you're saying is a white and green map.
And one thing we've left off is quick shift.
Yeah.
You know, quick shift across the range is a new tech from KTM that I got to work on, and I forgot about it until the presentation, to be honest, in 17 or something, where it's for start function where you can shift, and it just cuts the timing out for a quick second, let that shift to be easier, because shifting under loads
well, you can leave it on for you can
leave it on for the motos.
Yeah, but you can turn it on. Most guys are going to use it for the start, and then
yep. Yeah. So to have that option is quite good. I personally can appreciate the technology. I used it. I did some starts on it, but I don't think I would want to worry about using it in a race format.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem shifting with these bikes. They have really good trainings. But to have that option with a ready to race bike is really cool.
Yeah. Well, Mike, it's been awesome to have you out here, mate.
Yeah.
It's been a real insight for me, actually. You know, I mean, I've done a lot of testing in my day, and but you know, being involved with the guy he's been so involved with the bikes that resulted in this has been fascinating.
Yeah, kudos to the team in Austria, North America. Our team, our country here in Australia, we get a North American spec bike. So the bike here is centric to Australia and North America. It's a little bit a lower, more balanced setup. The European bike's a little taller in the rear.
Yeah.
So this bike is really developed in North America by Ryan Morris and a collective crew over there. So kudos to Ryan Morris and all involved in North America to work with the team in Austria to give us a platform that is really suited for what we want to ride. So they've delivered some amazing stuff, and kind of wrap on that, like, you know, whether the results are good or bad in racing, these bikes aren't built for them, they're built for us, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.